Rotate your phone.
It's okay.
Good evening. Hi, everyone. This is our live.
No one's here yet. You can see the views there. So.
Okay. Live. We're ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay. Waiting on people to join in.
All right. I think we have one view. Somebody's on. Oh,
Welcome.
Yeah, Tubosun Lolayima
Hi.
is on. How are you? That's my son in
San Angelo.
San Angelo. Welcome on board. Aren't you cool?
Welcome. Somebody else is there.
Yeah.
have three
Okay,
people.
we are having people come on. We want to welcome you, Brother Ernest in London. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. We just wait a little more, and then we are going to start.
I think we
Yeah.
should just get started.
All right, we have
We have a forum.
Kayode Akirimisi. Thank you, Brother Kayode, for joining here in Houston. We are expecting more people to join, but we will just go ahead and start tonight. My name is Wole Olowo Layema, and I live here in Houston, Texas. By the way, I'm married to this beautiful lady beside me.
Bimpe Olowo Layemo, of course.
All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself and why we are doing this.
Well, I'm Bimpe Olowo Layemo. Have been married to Wole for about 27 years now. And we actually have been through several stages of marriage. And during this forum, this lockdown season, we feel it will be a good thing to share some of our thoughts and experiences on, you know, how this lockdown affects us as couples and just generally how we can help others improve on their marriages.
That's cool. Yeah. So our goal is to talk about the way life is going for most of the couples right now. A lot of us are logged in. I think somebody said by what month is this? I think
April.
April. By December, people will have a lot of babies, right?
Those who still can.
So maybe some of the babies will be named Coro Daniel, or you know, different kinds of names would appear eventually. But the reason we are here is to talk about how we can make the best use of our time as couples, particularly during this quarantine time. That's why we are here. That's why we are live. And we want to be coming from time to time live like this and talk about love guardrails. If you travel on the road, and I know most of us will do, you realize that there are curves and bends. There are so many treacherous things that you see on the road most of the time. And a lot of times, people are foresight. They put guardrails by the side of the road so that you don't veer off and you don't run into ditches. And some people run into ditches, some they have serious accidents, some even die. So our goal is to actually be able to give the nuggets that we have learned for these 27 years of our marriage, to be able to share it with people so that you don't have to have that kind of fall off and, you know, have an accident, so to say. You know, a lot of marriages start good, but eventually they become very sour about themselves, about everything in life, you know. So we want to share some of our experiences, and so we want to target love guardrails. And so join us from time to time. Today is our premiere launch. This is the first time that we are doing this, and we hope that you're going to have some takeaways from what we are talking about today. So, why did we start this forum, darling?
Well, there are quite a couple of reasons. One of it is right now, in the middle of the lockdown, we see that the news is broadcasting that there has been an increase in domestic violence. There has been a reduction in all other type of crimes, but a very high rate of domestic violence. So we thought, during this lockdown, you're seeing each other every day. Some couples are enjoying it and some are not. So can we share a few things that can make this time of being home together worthwhile? Several people may have lost their jobs. That could affect the tone of the relationship at home. Some people are very scared about what's going to happen after the lockdown. What do we do after now? And some people are just not used to seeing their spouses 24/7, and so it's just when it's not a planned vacation. So it's like, okay, what happens now that you're such an irritant and I have to see you 24/7? How do I deal with my time that I'm spending with you? So we felt it might be a very good thing to go over a couple of things on how to make this time an interesting and enjoyable time.
Yeah, my wife mentioned quite a number of things. We wake up to depressing news. I think yesterday I woke up to just listen to the news, and there were over 4,000 deaths in the United States. Over 4,000 deaths.
Yeah, from the virus.
Yeah, just from the virus, So you listen to such news. I've never been so at home with my mortality as I am now. Maybe because of my age or something, I just feel so vulnerable, and I think that tells on our emotion a lot of times, because you hear this, it comes so close to home sometimes. You just can't believe that friends, maybe some family members, maybe, co-workers, some of them are sick in the hospital, some of them are dead. Some of them have lost their jobs. So it's a very depressing time. And what can we do to actually just enjoy ourselves and not just be grumpy, as I would say? A lot of people are really grumpy right now. Again, we want to talk about children as well. So many people, they don't even have any place to keep their children. I saw one post where a lady put a poster on the mouth of her kids and then just put them on the floor, because she needed to work from home. So how do we deal with kids who are home with us at this time? So we want to be able to make the most use of our time. That's why we brought this up. And I'm praying that this would help us. We also want to address relationships. There are so many singles who are just, really
home by themselves at this time.
Yeah.
It feels lonely.
So talk about that. What do you think singles are thinking?
Well, I think that sometimes when people are single, there's a tendency to feel lonely, to feel alone, to feel like, because people are single for different reasons. Maybe they're adults, family members are far away, or maybe they don't have a spouse for whatever reason. I think that at this time, they probably may feel that they're alone and nobody really cares. But our encouragement is just that during this season, one of the things a single person can do is to try to find ways of keeping busy. One, we all know that our topmost priority is our relationship with God, and then our relationship with fellow human beings. Look for areas where you can volunteer, find areas where you can connect with other people online, and see how well your time can be maximized between trying to deal with the social isolation as it affects you. Either you have to go to work or you have to find another job, and prayerfully find ways you can be relevant to other human beings.
Okay. I think, thank you for bringing that up. A lot of singles too, I think a lot of people are really anxious. They've been shut in, there is no mingling, they can't see, maybe somebody they've been thinking about for a while. Is this how long is this going to be? Am I going to have somebody who I will get married to? How is everything just changed? So we want to talk about that as well. We want to talk about what you can do as singles, how you can connect together and be able to maximize this opportunity that we have to be home. But before we go into all that, I think we want to introduce a little about ourselves because we want to talk about ourselves to you so that you know who we are coming to your home and how we have survived the 27 years of marriage. Actually, is it 27? I think it's more than that.
28. Well, we cut it for 5 years, so plus 25. I'm sorry, 27. That's about 32. Because I would count those years too as years that we've been knowing each other before we got married. So a total of 32. And it makes us have gone through several stages of marriage. So we'll go over those stages as the questions arise. We have a couple of questions that we prepared, and we'll just take one at a time and see where that leads us. Okay. So the first question I have here says, how has it been being married to this imperfect woman? So do you want to go first?
Oh, has it been being married to this imperfect woman or man, as the case may be? For me, I think God has blessed me with one of the best women God ever created. I mean, just look at her. Yeah. So I'm always excited to see my wife beside me, despite the fact that we all have imperfections in our life. I do, she does. But I think the major thing for me is not focusing on those imperfections. A lot of times, if, say, for example, if you are wearing a white dress and you see a stain of, ink or something on it, the first thing that people see is that stain. They forget the 90% or 95% or 99% of
the
white that is there. They just see that imperfection. And I think one of the things that has helped me particularly, or helped us for me as a person, is I don't look at those imperfections so much because I know I have a lot of them myself. I think focusing on the imperfections in marriage amplifies, those things. And before you know it, you just begin to harp on it and harp on it. And I think if you are a child of God, which we are, I think that we should begin with that we are Christians. So we look at life from a Christian perspective. The Bible says love covers a multitude of sins. So if I just constantly look at the sins and the imperfections of my wife, of course, that's all I'm going to see, So,
and I don't have too many.
So what I've chosen to do rather is to focus on the good aspects of my wife. One of the things that I know about her is that I think she's the most generous human being that God ever created. That is something that I'm just grateful for. Every time I have to just stop her and tell her, we can't give all that away, We can't spend all that on just one person. She's always been the one that would bring up, she sees the need in the life of people and she's willing to give. She never holds back. That's one thing that I focus on, So I don't see the other side. It's not that she doesn't have it, but I try by all means to focus on those good things that she has. I remember a story sometimes ago, which I told at a wedding. Somebody met this lady they met at a concert, and the lady sang and sang and sang. The voice was just too good, you know. The man couldn't help himself. He began to look for a way to just connect with the lady, and eventually he was able to connect with the lady, and eventually they began to date, and they got married eventually. And so the day they got married, they were supposed to go to the honeymoon, and when they got into the hotel room, the lady, you know, everybody, I mean, you had to freshen up and all that, you know. So but this man never knew what he was going to see, you know. So when they were freshening up, you know, the lady took off her denture, put it on the table, you know, and then took off, you know, her wig and put it on the table and all that. And the man was confused. What? I didn't know that there are this many faults. And something just came to him. He said, sing baby, you know, because he got connected to her through her voice. And so those imperfections, he didn't just amplify them. He saw the good things that brought them together. And I think for a lot of marriages, one of the major problems is that people don't see the reason why they got together in the first place. They see the little things that are faults in the life of people. So you want to talk about the same thing?
Well, the question is, how has it been being married to this imperfect saint, which I always refer to my husband as an imperfect saint. Like, he does have a ton of good qualities, and I thank God. I actually sometimes feel like I'm privileged to be his wife. But again, he has faults, and I just try to not dwell so much on the faults, which sometimes, I mean, almost all the time, it comes up on interaction. Of course, at the beginning of our relationship, some of them were harder to deal with. I'm not sure if he has really changed so much in some of the things, but it's just that God has given me the grace and the wisdom to deal with that aspect of him, knowing fully well that there is no one human being that would be so perfect in all areas of their life. So I think it's just the knowledge and understanding, knowing that he tries, you know. Overall, I know he loves me and he's trying to do his best. So when he falls short, I don't, you know, don't hammer on it too much and just move on. I like to be happy almost all the time. So if something wants to stand in my way of being joyful, I try to fight it off. So I think that has helped us.
Yeah, so what do you think couples should take away from what we just discussed about this? Yeah.
I think it's major to see the strengths and the good things that this person has, you know, just, and also look inwards, because a lot of times when I see the things that I want him to do and I would wish God to change, I'm looking at myself and I'm seeing that I have my faults too and they haven't gone anywhere. So if I have faults and they haven't left me, I can expect him to be perfect. So it just helps me to be able to deal with the fact that he's not perfect just as I'm not perfect. So I think that's really important for couples to realize that they're not perfect either.
Yeah, I think it's very important that we get to just underscore that as we discuss this further. A lot of the issues that we have in marriage is about you and not about me. You know, we point the finger at the other person. We see the imperfections of the other person. We never look at our own faults, you know. And I think that began in Genesis, actually. You know, people just blaming each other. And until we begin to learn that we are, you know, depraved humans with a lot of faults in ourselves, you see, you have to come to see that you have blind spots. Blind spots are those areas that you don't see that others see. you know. And until we realize that we have blind spots in ourselves, what we see is every other person. But you have a blind spot, you know. So I think we should realize that it will help us. And the other thing, again, is I made up my mind at a very early stage of our marriage, and I told my wife about this, that if God gives an award in heaven, you know, this was when we first got married. I said, if God gives an award in heaven, I want to get an award for being one of the best husbands that ever lived.
And that was a shocker. I'm like, I don't think so.
You know.
I don't think so.
So what's your view now? After 27 years.
Well, like I said earlier on, you try.
Okay.
You try so hard. As long as you know that this is going to make my wife happy, you try to do it. So that's really very commendable. I mean, I can give that to you 100%. You go out of your way to make sure, not just me, with the kids also. And, you know, from you was where I learned the phrase that most of the times when you do things for other people, it's going to be inconvenient. You know how when I try to say, oh, I hope that's not making you inconvenient, my husband would say, of course it's inconvenient, but I do it with all pleasure. And that's an attribute of love, that it doesn't have to be convenient for me. So the fact that, you know, and when my husband said that to me, like, he wanted to win the award for being the best husband in heaven, I was like, I never thought about that. I didn't think I wanted to win an award for being the best wife. So I would try to compete with you so both of us can get the same award. So I started trying, and I think that helped. Just knowing that that's what's in his heart, even though those times I didn't really feel he meant it, but I know he did. So that helped a lot.
You just mentioned something about competition. I think we should try to outdo ourselves in goodness. You know, we should try to outdo ourselves. A lot of times, I think one of the major problems in marriages occurs where somebody is bearing most of the burden. You know, somebody is carrying the load all the time.
Or being loving.
Yeah.
And the other person is not trying.
Yeah. Let's break down what exactly is being loving. I think it's not just in language, but in action.
Yeah.
So when we say that you are being loving, you can have all the good ideas about love. I know people can teach about marriage, but their marriage
has to be practical.
Yeah, their marriage is in shambles themselves because they have all the good ideas, but you go to their wives or you go to their husband and you ask them, how is your family? They said, you don't even want to be married to him. You don't even want to be married to her. And the reason is because they are not competing. There is not a healthy competition to outdo each other in love. And when we say we love, it's not just this kind of thing that just comes over you. It's not just emotional feeling.
Love is an action word.
Exactly.
And a lot of those attributes can be found in 1 Corinthians 13.
Yeah.
Love is not, and each person would need to go through the checklist. Am I envious? Do I keep track of evil, which so many of us are very good at, especially women? We have an anniversary of when he said this and when he said that. We keep track of all the bad things he's done. And we're not keeping track as much of the good. So I think when we look at ourselves in the mirror of 1 Corinthians chapter 13, it helps us to see, you know, how we practicalize our love for one another. And like we said at the beginning, the Bible has really been a basis of how we have learned to love each other, and we always make reference to it, and I think that has helped us.
All right. Thank you. We'll talk more about this as time goes on, but I want to ask my wife this question. What is the one thing you think you struggled with earlier in our marriage? What is the one thing you struggled with earlier in our marriage?
Well, I think for me, one of the things I struggled with really was completely trusting you. Okay. Like, you have my best interest at heart, and you will do everything to, you know, make me happy. Like, even though you love me, we're married, but giving you all my love and trust, like financially, emotionally, with the children, knowing that I can commit everything into your hands, because I don't really think until I met you, I wasn't raised by a single parent, but my dad traveled a lot. So we didn't have a very close bond on the role of the father in the life of a daughter. I didn't really have like a real strong male role model. So it was like, I'm married, but I still have to make my own decisions. I still have to, look out for myself, So I think that was one of the major things that I struggled with at the beginning, to really trust myself to you as, somebody that can have my full interest at heart.
Okay.
Maybe some other things, but I think that was one of the major ones.
Okay. Trusting yourself fully to me. So how did that affect, how you related, then?
Well, I mean, like, I have to have my own money in case I have an emergency. I have to have the way I want to do things, like in case, like I think about in case there is uproar or something going on, I have to think for myself to know where my security is outside of you, just in case you don't perform, So it seemed like there was a bridge between us, until God really helped me in that area. So I think that's a major thing, not just fully trusting that when you say me and my family, you really mean it, not just saying it, So I think that was major for me at the beginning.
Wow, that's great. For me, one of the major areas for me that I struggled with when we first got married is being romantic. I still struggle.
You're still struggling?
Even after 27 years. Because
he's shy.
Yeah. Well, I think I've improved a little bit. What happened was that I grew up in a family that never showed love.
Affection.
Yeah. That's the right word to say. I grew up in that family. Up to today, of course, my mom is dead. I never saw my parents kiss. I never saw them hold hands. I never saw them, do things together that I would say, well, this is how a couple should do it. Of course, my father provided, my mom cooked, and that was it, And they had children. I don't know what they did in their bedroom, but as far as I'm concerned, I didn't know anything. So
you don't like holding hands?
So when we came into the marriage, that was an area that I struggled with.
My parents were very openly expressive. Even when we moved from the major city to the small village, every time my dad travels and come back in the front of everybody, they'll give themselves a peck, hug and all that. Even though after that they might go back and start, fighting in front of us. Not really fight, hitting. I've never seen my dad raise his hands up to my mom, but just words. But they were very expressive with each other, so that's what I expected. I expected a higher level of expression from a younger generation.
Yeah, but and the reason I raise this is because a lot of times we don't know the impact the childhood of our spouse has on them even now. There is a lot of carryover, even for a lot of Christian homes. So if you see, say, some families where there is abuse, the man didn't know any better. That's all he saw when he was growing up. So he saw abuse, he thought that was how they treated women. And if it's the other way around, if the mother is the one that was abusive, verbally abusive, never talked good about, the husband, she's always running him down, and he never did anything good. The wife tells the children, they have a clique of children that they talk to, and they just express the frustration to the children. So you see, there is a carryover of that for a lot of couples, so that they can't trust their husband. They want to have this clique around them that they just want to deal with. So for me, what I struggled with majorly earlier in our marriage was that romantic aspect. Holding hands, kissing. I remember the first time my wife said, "Wouldn't you kiss me?"
Was that what happened? I kissed him and he made me fast and pray because I had probably defiled him. I don't know.
Yeah, I tried
crossed the line.
I mean,
we weren't married at the time.
We weren't married. I said, "Oh God, you know what?" So I had to go and pray.
I had to go through a series of prayer and fasting because I crossed the line.
Yeah.
And the Bible says we should not fornicate. I was like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't stand it, you know. So I mean, so even when we got married, to the glory of God, for the 5 years that we got married, we were away from each other.
The 5 years we were in courtship.
Yeah, the 5 years we were in courtship, we didn't have sex. Okay, so but when we got married, that was an area I struggled with. You know, I couldn't just get myself to be fully open and to love on her the way I should. And I think a lot of African men, particularly, I think we struggle with this. Brother, I'm talking to you listening to me. You're not going to have another wife. If that is, I mean, you're not going to have any other person. This is the only one that God has given you. And I think there is nothing that should hold you back from being expressive if that will give the joy that your wife needs. I think we should try it. I think it's difficult, you know, for most of us, particularly men. At least I know as for me, and I've had a lot of women talk about that. When you ask, okay, is your husband romantic? Tell the story of, you are talking about the story of romance or something. Do you still remember
somebody
that?
sent me an email a while back. But I just want to say that I think we should do more in doing counseling before marriage.
Okay.
Especially with men. I mean, this day and age, it's like there's a lot of information on the internet, you know, with the evil world of pornography, people tend to just have wrong ideas and see different things that may not really help them in the marriage. So I think it's just very important to have like a one-on-one session, both male and female, before marriage on what are the expectations of a woman when it comes to touching, non-sexual touch, you know, just being expressive. I think that helps a lot when the man knows what the woman wants, not what he wants. Because so many times we've had a lot of occasions where the man says, and you ask the couple, how's your sex life or how's your romantic life? And the man gives 100 and the woman is 30. And you're wondering what's happening here. So I think it's just being able to address those individual expressions. Okay. To the article you talked about, at one point somebody sent me an email, which I always talk about and I've never forgotten, about a woman who was trying to find a husband, and they told her the rules of the game is that you can go up a staircase, but when you go up, you cannot come back down. So if you find the man you like on the stair, just pick it and that's your husband. So on the first staircase she went, she got there and they said, oh, he's a very wonderful man, he's handsome. And she was like, oh my God, he's so good looking, I will pick him. And then she was like, maybe there are other things, let me just go to the second one. And she got on the second staircase and the handsome man loves God. And she was like, oh my God, this is it. If he's handsome, he loves God, that's what I want. And she was like, well, it's getting better, I might as well try the next stair. So she went to the third level and he's handsome, he loves God, and he loves children. She was like, oh wow, I'm made here. This is who I want. And she got to the fourth floor. The same man, he's handsome, he loves God, he loves children, has a good job. And she was like, oh my goodness, this is it. It keeps getting better. I'm just going to keep going up. And then she went up to the fifth floor. He loves the Lord, he's handsome, has a good job, has a very good family background. And she said, okay, since I've gotten everything I want, I really am going to just keep going. and she went up to the 6th floor, and at that point there was nobody there. Because there's nobody that has every single thing. So I'm always saying that on the 6th floor is the romance, and that was the floor my husband didn't get to when I found everything I wanted. So, but I'm lucky I stopped at 5th floor, so I didn't come empty-handed. But yeah, so it's just saying that even if you have all the qualities, sometimes one thing might still be missing.
Yeah, and I think we should, particularly, I think this is very important. If our spouse tells us an area of our deficiency, I think you just owe that person, you know, everything to make sure that you begin to practice it. If my wife tells me, this is an area that you are deficient, and I think I want to make her happy. The end result is that I want this relationship to work. What I need to do is that I should deliberately work on that rather than say, you know what, you two, you have your own, you know. Again,
like being romantic is not expensive.
Yeah, I think so.
How are you feeling? You know, it doesn't cost you anything. It just costs you touching me. So why do I have to beg for it?
I'm doing it, you know. So you know,
baby.
those are some of the things I'm beginning to learn, or I'm learning over these years. That my wife, she
just
wants,
touch me for no reason.
Yeah, she wants that, and it's just a good thing for me to do. Even though, for me as a man, that's not a need for me. But if that is a need for her, I should try and fulfill that need. Do you have other questions that maybe you want us to look at?
What is the one thing you think has helped our marriage?
One thing that has helped our marriage, for me, I think is learning to communicate with gentleness and wisdom. I think a lot of times people want to say their mind, and I normally say that only a fool tells his mind as it is.
When he's angry.
Even when he's not angry.
You know, I mean, when there's a fight, and that's when you want to say your mind.
Yeah, you know. So the thing is this: I think why I don't believe that you should hold back about loving and all that when it comes to communication. I think the use of words, we have to be careful. I tell people that words are like eggs. Once you break it, it's very difficult for you to put them together again, you know. And one of the things that I think has helped us in our relationship is to have respect and to be able to communicate in a tactful and wise way. You know, if you just vomit what is in your heart, you will say it and then you will regret it again. So a number of times I have to, you know, think about, okay, so what's the best way to say this? And
that you made me really, really mad.
Yeah, that I will not be so offensive to my wife, you know. I think that's very, very necessary. You know, say for example, she cooked something and there is a bit of salt in it. You know, I don't do that often. Yeah, you don't do that often. But if I have to communicate that, you know, I could communicate it and say, well, in two ways. The first is say, wow, this soup, is it salt or is it soup? You know, or I can say it in such a way that, oh, darling, wow, this soup is very, very good. And then, you know, after a while, I could say, it looks like it's a little tasty today, you know, than what it was yesterday. Just finding a way to communicate.
Without using harsh words.
Without using harsh words. You want to talk about that? Communication without using harsh words.
Because I heard somewhere where, I think it was in a movie where And it was so strange to me that I'd never heard it until that day, that a man loves with his eyes and a woman loves with her ears. So many times when the man is communicating negative words, the woman magnifies it more than what he said. It has a very big weight when you say something negative about what she did, how she looks, what she said. So it's really very important for the man especially to use words that are not really harmful in expressing what he wants to say. And I think the woman hears it much more when a woman loves you and you're trying to make a correction. She hears it beyond what you're saying to know that, okay, my husband doesn't like this or my spouse doesn't want this, and she makes amends instead of just giving it to her in a way where you deliberately want to hurt her, and then she wants to respond. Like somebody said that when the devil came to Eve in Genesis chapter 1, or is it chapter 2, to say to her that did God tell you not to eat the fruit? That the devil spoke 14 words and the woman spoke 44. So when you say something and she's offended, she wants to give it back, on a higher level, and that hurts you, and then you get back at her. So just being very tactful in choosing the words are important on both sides. Because sometimes too, because the woman has the ability to use words as a weapon more than the man, when he finds out that she's winning the battle, then he wants to try other things. And that's why sometimes when the men have financial power, they decide to use it. And in some countries where, they can hit the woman and get away with it, they start hitting. I would never be one person that would approve of a man putting up his hands against his woman, because some people would say the woman asks for it. No matter what she says, you should be matured enough to not hit her. But just learning how to use words very well is a very good skill that helps to build a marriage.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Learning to use words. I think we should be wordsmiths. We should be able to use our words well. I think that's so critical in every marriage, in every relationship, even to our kids. What I find out is that a lot of us, we are so careful how we talk to our boss. We are careful about how we talk to our colleague. We are careful about how we talk to people. But when we come home, we use all manner of crude language.
Generously.
Yes, generously against your own spouse. Words are like daggers. They're like knives that cut through the flesh. And I think for me and for us, I think one of the areas that we have tried by all means is to try as much as possible not to use foul languages for ourselves,
And I think I remember very well, that started when we were in courtship. I think it was in Abeokuta when you asked me one day that he said to me that he doesn't want us to, that is it possible that we have a relationship and we don't quarrel? And I'm like, quarrel? That's normal. Couples fight all the time. I mean, I wouldn't think that we can be in a relationship and not just quarrel, talk to each other. And he was like, I don't want to have a relationship like that. And I'm thinking, really? I'm not sure if I've known any couple that I don't see them speak bad words to each other generously, either behind the curtains or outside of the curtains. But I think it was a goal that you helped us to set at the beginning, that we should not quarrel. And that was a problem for me when we started knowing each other, and he would do something that I wish, oh my God, I want to go tell the pastor right now. You just crossed the line. And I couldn't really fight it out with words. We had to pray about it and talk to each other in a very civil manner. And I think it has helped us.
Yeah, I think it has helped us. For me, I think one of the major areas of conflict is how we respond to offenses.
How long have we been on this?
How we respond to offenses. And I just can't believe how somebody you love, you will use one of the most crude and abusive language for that person. No matter how angry you are,
And you could be really angry.
we must be measured in the words we use to our spouses. And you see, if you think you are injuring that person, you're actually injuring your relationship. So we are talking about love guardrails. You have to deliberately learn. I think we just have to do it. And even in our home, we don't use that kind of crude language for our children as well. You know, we have to learn how to communicate. So, but let me say this: how do we then communicate our feelings and our fears to each other? How have we done that?
I remember very early in our marriage, I can't remember what you did, but I know I wrote a letter and you were like, I'm not going to read it, just talk to me. And I'm like, no. For one, you're trained as a lawyer, and no matter what I say, you always make it come back like I'm the person who is in the wrong. So I have to write it down. For one, I don't want to forget. And two, I want all my words to really come to you the way it is in my mind. And you insisted you weren't going to read the letter. So I think that one of the things that helped me at that point is to realize that you have a right to be angry.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I get angry at you with the things you do. And so when you tell me you're angry, you have a right to be angry because I did something you didn't like, even though I didn't feel it should make you angry. But when you're angry, you should be able to express yourself to me. So I think I learned earlier on to just listen to what you have to say, and then I give a response. And then when I give my response, you still don't agree that you're wrong because you want to prove why, but you know, we go on and on, but we would never be abusive to each other. So I think it was one of the things we had to learn.
Okay. Yeah, I think for me, one of the ways I think we should express our feelings is not when you are angry most of the time. You know, not when
Immediately.
yeah, I think we should learn to hold those emotions for some time and not just pour it out. Because if you say it just the way you feel, you know, I don't think it's going to end well. So that's one thing that we should still express our feelings. And I think we should not minimize the feeling of another person. If somebody feels one way, I've seen people just say, well, I don't know why you should feel that way. That's how I feel, you know, and I think we should allow that feelings, but we should my point in this is communicate with wisdom and with tact, and don't be crude and rude about the way you do it. Particularly, this is somebody you love. Why would you use languages that are so injurious to that person? I think we should be able to hold back a little bit. Anyway, let's go to the next thing. Name one thing you think name one thing that you think a lot of people struggle with in a relationship.
I think that one of the major things I would consider selfishness. And the reason why I say that is, so let's say, for example, I'm the one person that I think we should be able to go on vacation every year. And you're thinking we can't afford it because we have to do this. And I'm thinking that's not important. If we go on vacation, we probably may be able to do this or that. And then an argument ensues. And as long as we cannot go on vacation every year, then no matter what you do, I'm not happy with it. Now our lives are intertwined. Our children are intertwined. I want to go on vacation every year. You don't want to go on vacation every year. So you think I'm frivolous. I think you're stingy. and both of us just keep that mindset. I think that's a major thing. So I think that it's very important. I've heard it over and over. Most marriage seminars I've been to, TV, books, everything, that communication is very vital. Try to understand where the other person is coming from. And we're not really talking about compromise today, but I think it comes up all the time that we both have to compromise. We cannot insist on having our way. So we can talk about, okay, since I want to go on vacation so bad, you don't want to go on vacation, maybe we can go every other year. And so we put money into yours and we put money into mine, the other years, because we can't agree. So I think one of the major issues of struggle would be when when I feel my voice is not heard, or what I want to have done in this marriage is not being done, then, whatever you want to do is not okay. So I think that would be one of the major areas that marriage struggles with.
Okay, so you talked about selfishness. I think that's a very serious area. I've seen people who are selfish about everything. They are selfish about the way they spend their money, I think people, let me say this, I think people are not really married financially. I think they will struggle a lot in their marriage. People are not married financially. I think they will struggle a lot in their marriage. So if one is making money than the other, and the other person feels that this is my money, it's not our money, I think that's a major area. Selfishness. There are people who cannot share what they have with their spouse. And I think it's sad that even though you say you live under the same roof, you do everything differently. You have your money, you have your car, you have your this, you have your that. I think marriage is a welding together of two people, not just in the area of, just sex, even in the area of our finances, And I think selfishness is one major area that people struggle with. Another area that I will talk about is people, like you said, people just wanting to have their way, And imagine yourself driving on the road and you say, it's my way, it's my road all the time. What do you think will happen?
You have an accident every single time.
Every day you go out, you're going to have accident because there are people who will drive contrary to where you are going. There are people, people will cut in front of you, people would slow down, people would, just do all manner of foolish things on the road. What do? Your brakes are always on. So you yield. That's what you do. And I think in marriage, one of the areas that a lot of us, when we're talking about the guardrails of love, is that we don't learn to yield to one another. I will do it my own way. Your way is not the best way. We've counseled with older couples of our age, younger couples, who just feel that it's my way or no other way. I have a better opinion. My opinion is better than yours. And I think we need to come to that position where this is your partner. And you should be able to listen, and the two of you should have a considered opinion before you make a final decision on things. Another thing I want to talk about, go ahead.
Oh, okay, I was just going to say, let me ask you this. So let's say, for example, both of us married as graduates, and we both have opportunities to, the man and the woman, we both have opportunities to go and do a postgraduate degree. Who should go?
I think
so.
Yeah,
who should put their career on hold for the other one?
I think it should be a discussion.
Okay.
I think there should be a discussion, and it should be the best interest of the family.
Of the family.
Not the best interest of one person. For both of us, when we did our when I did my graduate program, my wife was also in school, and it was tough, but we made it through. But for some, it's not like that. Somebody has to put their career on hold for the other person, particularly immigrants. Both of you cannot be in school at the same time.
Except it works. If it works for you.
Yeah, if it works for you. But I think most of the time, it should be a deliberate discussion. And the goal should be the best interest of the family, not my best interest, So I think that's so important.
And the other person doesn't feel like because he's going and I'm not, I'm at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
So we're not, because both of us are one. So if one person is moving forward, there shouldn't be, the other person not in full support to make sure that, whoever is going to school has a better career.
Okay, our time is almost up. Let's give a few suggestions about what you can do together as couples during this time that you are quarantined at home. What are some of those things that we can do together? For me, I think we should try something new.
Have we tried anything new?
Yeah, we are beginning to work together in the evening.
That's true. Right.
We take a walk together in the evening. My wife listens to music. Early in the morning, she'll wake up, she'll come and listen to music. She does, her own thing. She walks to the park. I think one of the things that we did as a family together recently was that the idea just came to me. I got a big placard and I wrote, hashtag family, we miss you. And then we drove to the homes of our friends. We parked far away because of COVID-19, and then we called them. They came to their windows, they came to their doors, and then we just showed, hey, we miss you, I mean, it's something
we were bored.
Yeah. We were bored. We took our
staying home face mask.
We took our face mask and then we just went to people's houses, showed them that we love them. I think that's one of the things that we can do together. We can go to groceries together, right?
Yeah. And probably watch a movie together. It doesn't have to be all spiritual walk or,
romantic movie.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be romantic. I like action movies sometimes. I like when somebody did something bad and at the end of the movie they finally found them and caught up with them and put them in jail or whatever. So
all right.
I like to watch UFC.
Yeah, I like to watch UFC even though I can't fight so much. I just enjoy beating themselves up.
That's bad.
Okay.
I don't believe that's a good game, but you watch it.
Yeah, I do watch it. It's good to be in your homes. Thank you for spending this time with us. Hopefully, we will be coming live. We would always
2 weeks.
Maybe we can even do it every week. If you want us to do it every week, please send us your comments. Like us on Facebook. Again, we are pastors at Wellspring City Church here in Houston. We have a church. Most of us were under quarantine, but the church members, they've been very gracious. They've been doing everything they need to do. So I want to give a shout out to the Wellspring City church members out there. We are here in the Richmond area. If you don't have a church where you are going, we are passionate about Christ. We are passionate about family. And we want to be practical in our faith. So we want to welcome you to join us at Wellspring City when the church opens. May the Lord bless you, and then we'll see you very soon again. All right, God bless you.